directed by Matt Reeves, is a stellar DC entry that utterly revitalizes DC fans' palates after having been offered an incredibly tumultuous string of failed DC movies within the past 10 years. This movie goes straight into the nitty-gritty, skips way past all the typical Batman lore cliches, and focuses on building a world filled with harsh, crestfallen characters and a highly strung narrative that will keep you on the edge of your seat throughout the entire film. Matt Reeves has managed to take the character of Batman and use every ounce of its detective potential to create a modern-day neo-noir detective film that feels heavily layered with dense, atmospheric settings, contrasting with a heavy dark color palette, spliced with well-choreographed and practically performed action scenes that will constantly grip you and immerse you in this rendition of Gotham. I'm glad to say that Robert Pattinson really made the Batman character his own, though at times I was left wondering if the way he would present expository dialogue was intentional or just not well delivered. The scenes in which Batman and Commissioner Gordon share the screen together felt a bit awkward to watch because of how both of those characters would speak with stoic expressions and muted vocal tones. It almost felt like they were bored, which struck me a bit odd. But aside from that, this movie is amazing, just all around. The movie borrows heavily from the Batman Arkham games, which I absolutely adore because it gives it that iconic, mystical Batman ethereal vibe. And it also has this beautifully effervescent 90s sheen, this grunge and gothic vibe that just melts throughout the movie so seamlessly. And what helps elevate that effervescent beauty even more is the musical score backing everything up. Michael Giacchino was brought in to score the entire film, and he did a wonderful job at capturing a specific ominous sound that is prominent as Batman's omnipresence itself. It suits the noir aesthetic so flawlessly. The only song that was utilized outside of Michael's compositions was Something in the Way by Nirvana, which is used prominently within the film as well, and it serves to further elevate that grunge aesthetic I previously mentioned. Now, everyone was casting magnificently to a T. Zoe Kravitz is so wonderful as Catwoman. She brought in such a beautiful mix of sensuality and unpredictability to her rendition of Catwoman that felt classy and captivating. Paul Dano as Riddler was by far my favorite thing in this movie because this dude literally looks like his comic book counterpart. Riddler is one of those villains I've been dying to see be portrayed on the big screen because he can be used to bring out so much good writing for these types of DC films. Paul gave the character a small dose of Patrick Bateman, John Kramer, a nice flair of classic contemporary slasher killers, and even resembling the criminal mastery of the real-life Zodiac killer at times. The way he would constantly be taunting the detectives and always being able to stay one step ahead of Batman and straight up Zodiac influenced. The opening scene where he's stalking the mayor and suddenly appears behind him in his room is just genuinely frightening. He lingers behind him just long enough before the eeriness turns to creepiness and then he goes full manic and kills him like a savage. Or the scene which is clearly a nod to the iconic scene where Riddler captures Police Commissioner Pete Savage and straps this jigsaw trap to his head and he's just screaming his head off on national television was marvelous. This portrayal of Riddler is scary. He's exactly what I pictured him being. Cunning, malicious, cold, completely apathetic, and he just wants to see the world burn. Then Colin Farrell as Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin, comes in and just like Paul's performance with Riddler, he nails that character so well that you'll have trouble realizing it's him if you're not really paying close attention. Colin is known to completely immerse himself within the characters he plays, but this time around, he helped me become more immersed in this world by his outstanding performance. The only thing I hate about him is that he's not smoking his signature cigar, and it was due to the movie studio denying him to do so because they were afraid it would have a negative impact on younger fans. Allow me to go on a quick rant here. This movie is not for kids. This is a graphic and at times horrifying depiction of criminal insanity, riddled with strong language, people's heads exploding, a woman being violently strangled by a mob boss. I mean, it's hilarious that the studio was okay with younger audiences consuming this, but no cigars, no nicotine because we don't want to turn these impressionable young kids into lung cancer patients. No sir, not in my backyard. And while I'm on the subject on this movie not being for kids, I guess another complaint that I have about the film is its lack of gore. Now, this really isn't a complaint, it's just my pet peeve, so it doesn't really deter from, the overall movie. I do share the opinion that a film doesn't automatically elevate its entertainment value by adding gore if it's done for the hell of it. But a film like this would have benefited so well from it because the example that I'm thinking of is 2017's Logan. That movie was a gritty, gory portrayal of Wolverine, but the violence wasn't done in bad taste. Rather, the violence served to showcase what would happen whenever Wolverine was pushed to his breaking point. He never wanted to fight. He was just put in an unfortunate circumstance which caused him to do so. That's what Matt Reeves should have applied to this film, just simply showcase the violence as a grim consequence to any main antagonist's actions. But, I digress. Again, the Penguin is such a great antagonist in this film, and something that I really enjoyed about his arc is how he's tied into the Falcone crime family, which is such a refreshing change of pace for a Batman movie. Finally, adding Carmine Falcone as a main antagonist was really superb, and John Turturro outdid himself with this performance. That whole Falcone Penguin plot point adequately enhanced the thriller aspect of the film up to 10. There were moments where I was at the edge of my seat going, wait, what the fuck? Wait, oh, you don't mean, oh shit. Just being all properly invested in the drama of the movie, and that's something that made me so happy because it's been a while since any movie has given me that feeling of thrill and intrigue. It's safe to say that this movie did a lot of things right, from its casting decisions, to its gripping storyline, to how enchanting the cinematography is. You really get to see Matt Reeves' guiding hand at work on this film. You see a lot of influence not just from other successful Batman-oriented media, but one thing that I couldn't help but feel was how, at times, this movie resembled Zack Snyder's 2009 adaptation of Watchmen. Now, granted, I acknowledge that movie as being not so good in terms of pacing and storytelling, but one thing that always stood out to me was the costume designs and how there were such highlights of the production. They look so authentic and made with painstaking care, and Batman echoes that same quality production whenever you would get to those intimate scenes where Batman would be walking within an enclosed room and you realize that his suit was all practical, no CGI. That's just amazing. That's yet another reason why this movie kicks so much ass, because of how much practical effects were utilized in this film. The Batmobile scene has got to be one of the most amazing action set pieces ever performed for a Batman film. The moment you heard that Batmobile engine just revving up off camera, and then it slowly pans to it, revealing it, and then lingering as it revs up even louder, and then the chase begins, oof, that sends chills down my spine. There's a lot of great goosebump-inducing scenes in this film, so much to take away from it, and I'm so glad this was made because DC fans deserve to have their beloved characters portrayed with love, care, and foresight when being put onto the movie format. The DCU hasn't really done much justice in terms of cementing their place within the competitive cinematic experience, but movies like Batman, Joker, and James Gunn's Suicide Squad have cleansed fans' palates by giving them worthwhile experiences by making these fun, innovative, and daring films. So, there's not anything else to say other than me telling you to go out and watch it. Be patient with it. Let the movie slowly set in, and you'll be appreciating its artistry in no time. Now this is cinema. Thank you all for watching. This has been Spooky Reviews.